Yeah, so the meeting is recorded and then we post it to YouTube afterwards. So there'll be a link for it.
Right.
If you have another preferred method you want to record it, I'm sure that's fine too.
That is fine. See, that gives me an option. If people say bad things,
it's all on record.
Anybody.
Yeah, I can send around an email of the Twine. I can send around a Twine email with the link in it. So, everybody's got it, including everyone that said anything bad.
All right. Can we tell how many people are on?
That's 22.
22. All right. Well, I will say we go ahead and get started. No, I'm sure a few people will join, but we have a full agenda, so we want to make sure we get through as much as possible. So first off, welcome to everybody. Happy New Year to you. I know it's been a while since we last met back in September. We have a few things to report out on. I guess typically the end of the year with the holidays and all can be a slow time of year, but there's been a number of things that we've been active in and that's going on in the city. So to kind of jump right in, first off, I made a note that Avalon Bay, the apartment community that is being built or just being finished with construction at the corner of Alpine and Ardennes, they are, again, either finished or just about finished their construction. I know the first residents have just moved in or have been moving in since November. Lou has been great. So thanks, Lou, our member at Large South, at passing along, communicating both with the developer and passing along like construction updates and impacts. And I just want to thank everybody who kind of heeded their request for traffic diversion and parking as they paved Alpine and Ardennes. So I guess just going forward, if there's any concerns that people have about, that apartment complex, anything that you see, feel free to reach out to us and let us know, and we will follow up on that. I wanted to thank everybody in September who came to our meeting and provided some feedback in regards to the Planning Commission's review of the Rockville 2040 plan, especially those sections specific to Twinbrook. We were able to collect that feedback and give that testimony to the Planning Commission on November 18th. And we worked in close partnership with our friends in the Cambridge Walk townhome communities along Alpine. We worked together on a couple of issues. Primarily, they wanted to remain within the Twinbrook planning area, which is planning area 8, rather than being separated off and being part of the Rockville Pike planning area. So we were able to, I believe, successfully lobby for that. Our very own Marissa Valeri, Vice President, has been selected to sit on Rockville's Charter Commission. So she was appointed to that commission on October 19th. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, this commission is going to be charged with looking into the city's charter, which establishes rules by which Rockville is governed, including things like, possible enlargement of the city council, how we, maybe going to districts, representation by districts. So I'm just going to throw you out there, Marissa, if there's anybody who has any ideas or questions or concerns about the city charter or how it's governed, Marissa is your contact for that. Is there anything quick you wanted to say about that, Marissa?
Yeah, no, I welcome anybody's thoughts. If it's easy, I like to think of the charter as kind of our city constitution, and it gives us the parameters through which we can affect change. And this is like one of those rare constitutional convention moments where we can put forward some positive new ideas. So feel free to email me. My revised email address is twinbrook.vp for vice president @gmail.com, and I look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts.
Great. I also wanted to thank a neighbor who lives just off Broadwood on the north side of Bearsmill, who I think I see on the call, Avram. He had raised an issue kind of with the vehicle noise pollution that I think we're all have it's been going on for a while, but I think we've all noticed it, especially since the pandemic has started, especially early on when there was a lack of traffic on the road. So, these are the cars where people have modified their exhaust systems so they're much louder, and especially in conjunction with speeding. Abram had reached out to our state delegate Julie Polakovich Carr and had an initial conversation. And then contacted TCA. So we had reached out to the Rockville police and requested, and they did some targeted enforcement around the area that Abram was seeing some issues. They since wrapped that up. We had a separate conversation with our state delegate, Julie Polakovich Carr, just to talk about, what does the state legislation look like about these cars, or what they're doing legal, illegal, their penalties, any changes that can be made. So we had that preliminary conversation. And then I know it's on the mayor and council's radar. There were some residents of Town Center who complained at a recent mayor and council community forum. The mayor herself brought it up. So I think our next step is that we want to have another conversation with Chief Brito to kind of talk about more of his thoughts about what they're seeing in Rockville, what enforcement measures they can take, what challenges do they have, and then possibly have, a community forum to involve both our local and state officials as well as TCA, just to see about if there's any solutions going forward. So I think partially it's just a quality of life issue, the noise. A lot of it, I think, also is the speeding that we're seeing in conjunction with this, which is certainly a public safety issue. Abram, I know you're on. If there's anything else you would like to add to that, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, thanks for bringing the issue up. I did hear from Julie Polakovich Carr recently, so she to see if there were any updates on when we're going to have that meeting. So I think she's I think very interested in the issue. So hopefully we can figure out when we get everybody talking to figure out if there needs to be some updates to the laws or if there's anything else we can do to make it easier to enforce the existing laws.
Great. Thanks, Abram. So we're definitely interested in hearing from all of you more about this topic, what you're experiencing, what questions or concerns you might have. But, we're moving forward. We're talking to local officials and, with an eye, a goal that we will have probably some type of community forum on it in the next month or two. There are several important city updates, which I know Hjarman, who is on, will speak on in just a moment. So I won't steal his thunder, but there's some important dates coming up regarding public testimony, regarding ADUs and the budget. So he'll speak more to that. We did also have a request from a neighbor about having a rally board installed at the Twinbrook Recreation Center tennis court. So for those of you who are unfamiliar like I am, it's basically those big wooden boards that are hung on the fence so that people can play, practice on their own, either through lessons or, just to hit the ball against the board if they don't have a tennis partner. So we worked with the city Parks and Recreation to get that installed. So if you've walked by there recently, you may have seen that on the Twinbrook Recreation Center tennis court. So that is all I had. I will turn it over now to our treasurer, Vincent Russo, who will, Marissa just waved her finger. Do you have something?
I didn't know when you wanted me to do the quick update on.
How long is it?
I can do it in 5 minutes and then I can put links in the chat.
Okay, sure. Why don't you go ahead and do that now?
I'll be quick, Vincent, I promise. I just wanted to take it away from
starting the timer. Yeah.
Okay. So some of you may know, I work for the Montgomery County Medical Society, and I've been assisting right now in making sure that our community physicians and their practice staff are getting vaccinated. And so being privy to some of the information about the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, there is some information I can provide. I'm going to put the links in the chat box, but we'll also share them via the Twine and on social media as well. We are currently in priority 1A vaccination group. These are hospital personnel, people at long-term care facilities and assisted living facilities. We're also in tier 2 of priority group 1A. If you can hang with me. This also includes urgent care, primary care, and EMS, along with people who are going to be doing the vaccination. So like your community physicians and like other public health officials. They've just started the third part of 1A, and these are dentist practices, pharmacists, law enforcement, fire and rescue. What is beginning on January 25th? So the governor's announcement does not necessarily pertain to Montgomery County. It pertains to a broad swath of the state. For Montgomery County, the next tier, which will be tier 1B, starting January 25th, will be those age 75 and older. There is pre-registration available for vaccine clinics at Holy Cross Hospital. I'll put this link in there. You'll see new links on the webpage that I share are going to be up around 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. But also the really good news that the state put out is that starting on the 25th, a select group of giant grocery stores and Walmarts will also be vaccinating 75 plus. And so I'll put those two links. It's a very limited list of giants right now. So for example, the giant here in Rockville is not on the list yet, but we're hopeful that it's going to be added. It's just a matter of ensuring that the vaccine gets there and that they have the proper storage requirements. Coming up next, because I know and I see that there are teacher related people on the Zoom. The next part of 1B, which is tier 2, is going to be teachers, public transit workers, people in childcare, food and agricultural workers, postal workers, grocery stores, individuals experiencing homelessness, and people who are in detention. So we'll try to keep you as updated as possible. Please, I know that we're all just super excited, but I can tell you a lot of the people that are wanting to vaccinate everybody are not yet vaccinated. They're trying their hardest to get vaccinated. So unfortunately, we've got to be patient right now. And I'll also put my email address in there. So if you have any particular questions, I've heard them all. Please feel free to give me a shout.
All right. Thank you, Marissa. All right, Vincent. You're on mute.
Here we go. I'll look for the button. Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be brief here with the treasurer report. Where our current balance is about almost $1,300, about $1,284, but we have some outstanding checks to be cashed, and we had 3 new members join in since the previous report in September, and some of the expenses that we had since that time were for our MailChimp, the service that we use for our to manage our email, and also our website. So some of those fees we have payment outstanding for that. And then we also made a $100 donation to Twinbrook Village in honor of our Twinbrooker of the Year awardee tonight, Ann Goodman. So we're very happy to do that and really keep the money in the neighborhood, I guess. So we thought that would be a nice gesture to honor Ann. So part of what our balance includes is a sum that we applied for last year, a community grant for $250 that the city gave us to promote an activity or some kind of amusement or entertainment. It was originally supposed to have been used within 2020, but the city extended that to through December 2021. So it's listed here as a liability because it's we have to use it for a particular purpose, and if we don't use it, then I guess we return it. But hopefully we'll find something worthy. And as always, we'll look for membership ideas on that as well. So in terms of what's coming up, we'll be filing our annual report with the state and the federal 990, the little postcard that we do for nonprofits. So fortunately, we don't deal in big numbers, so we qualify for some of these little easier filings to do. So any questions on that? And we'll put this on we posted some of the previous treasury reports on our website, and we'll do that with this one as well.
All right. Thank you, Vincent.
Sure.
All right. So next up, Hjarman's going to tell us a little bit what's going on with the city of Rockville. Hi, Hjarman.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, everyone, and hello to everyone, and hello to Ann. I saw her on Sunday. I just wanted to share with you some good news and things that are happening in the city. Number one, Rockville has joined the nationwide tribute to remember and honor those lost to COVID-19. So Rockville will join cities and towns across the country today to illuminate City Hall to remember and honor lives lost to COVID-19. The nationwide memorial is being organized by the Presidential Inaugural Committee among events leading up to the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So you will be able to see a City Hall being lit with white lights in honor of those who has lost their lives to COVID-19. In addition to that, right now, the city is having a virtual public input session in relation to accessory structures and accessory dwelling units. But don't worry, if you couldn't make it tonight, you can actually be part of these on Wednesday, January 27 at 10 a.m., as well as on Thursday, February 4 at 7 p.m. I have been sharing this information for the past couple of weeks. So hopefully you will be able to join us on these virtual conversations about accessory dwelling structures and accessory dwelling units. Would you like to have something like this in your backyard? Do you mind if somebody else next to you have it? And if you like it, then how it should look like, what kind of policies and regulations should exist. So we want you to be part of that conversation. The mayor and council are trying to make some decisions in relation to these very important topics. In addition to that, I also want to remind you that the city is looking for neighbors who would like to engage on our boards and commissions. We have several openings right now. And if you want to know more about these, you can actually go into the city's website or just type www.rockville.gov/boards commissions, and then you'll be able to see more information about that. If you have any other questions, you can also contact the city clerk or you can call her at 240-314-8280. The city continues being proactive and offering testing sites, and Lincoln Park is going to be having a COVID testing going on this Friday, January 22nd from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Lincoln Park Community Center, and is located at 357 Frederick Avenue. So you get a note that with the increase of demand for testing, the turnaround time of the test results, it may be delayed. So there are ways in which you can actually find out about your test, but what it's being said at this moment is that it's going to be taking a little bit longer than usual. Also want to encourage you to be part of one of the important processes that the city has, which is the budget. So right now, the mayor and council want to hear from you. And we have a survey in our website. I have shared the link in the past. The survey is both in English and Spanish, and it has good questions, really, really thoughtful questions from, what are the things that are important for your community, how we should, as a city, address the issue of COVID and recovery, and so forth. So I encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, to actually take a few minutes to actually provide your input. Your input is so important for the mayor and council for this process of approving the budget. On January 25th, the mayor and council will have a work session, as well as they're going to be talking about water and sewer rates and rate structure. So please tune on that, because it is very important and certainly will affect you in one way or another. On February 22nd, the budget will be, the budget and CIP will be introduced to all related ordinances and resolutions. So you will be able to actually see the budget first time during this time. And there are gonna be a series of public hearings. The next public hearing is gonna be March 1st. So if you have any thoughts, any ideas in relation to the budget, please, you can write the mayor and council. You can participate on the public hearing. You need to sign up to participate in the public hearing, but you can send your comments ahead of time as part of this public process. And it is so key, and I think, in these days where we all depends in technology and communications, that we keep reaching out to our neighbors and friends and making sure that even if that is done electronically, that we continue being a community. And I think Twinbrook is doing a great job in fostering that, and this meeting is a really good example of that. And I think all across the city, people are doing their best to trying to be connected, and so we as a city are trying to do our best to be connected with you all. So I think that is all what I have right now, but if you have any questions, any thoughts, any suggestions, please let me know. You can do that through your amazing board. And so as well as you can just reach me at hcordero@rockvilleND.gov. I'll put some of the information when I can figure it out why my computer is not letting me to sign in, but so I'll be sharing that with you all. But thank you so much for letting me share. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Great. Any questions for Hjarman? Okay, great. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Hjarman, for
much.
providing that update. It's always useful information.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate that.
All right, no problem. So the next item on our agenda, we have Andy Lett, who is Superintendent of Recreation at the City of Rockville, who's going to spend a few moments and to talk to us and solicit feedback regarding children's programs in the community. So Andy, your floor is yours.
Thank you all very much for having me. Everybody can hear me okay? I just want to make sure. Good. Yep. All right. Yes, exactly. I want to talk with you all about really specifically about preschool and childcare needs that you see in the community. Rockville's Mayor and Council for several years now have really been interested in knowing what the gaps in service are within the city of Rockville for both childcare and preschool. So right now during the pandemic, obviously there's a lot of changes to what those needs are within our community. But I really wanted to have kind of a starter conversation because this is going to be kind of a longer topic that we are going to have to take on as a whole. There's a lot of stuff going on in the state. There's a lot of stuff going on at the county level as well. So I am trying to focus on what's going on in Rockville specifically. The Mayor and Council has not decided to fund anything. This is more of a research project at this point in time to guide what decisions need to be made and support for early childhood education. So some of the questions that I had for you all, and hopefully we could have a little bit of a conversation, is what do you see as the short-term needs in Twinbrook area, and what are some of the long-term needs? So I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear what you all have to say. I think you might be on mute. Lewis?
There we go.
There you
Andy,
go.
this
Yes.
is Luke Callis. We have
Yeah.
within Twinbrook a tremendous number of experts who are teachers in Montgomery County who live here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you asked them?
So we have worked with the county and talked to MCPS. While I have not gotten a coalition of teachers together specifically, no, I have not talked with a group of teachers, but we have gone to the county and MCPS.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Hi, Andy. Hey,
Yay.
I do have a feedback for you. My kids were in
Yeah.
daycare 4 to 6 years ago, and just daycare and preschool, just based on my experience. I know that pretty much in this area, every daycare center and every preschool has a waiting list. So what that tells me is, as a community, we have a shortage of daycare providers and preschool providers. Also, my kids went to preschool at the only preschool center that the city of Rockville itself operates. And I guess you're familiar with that.
Montrose.
Montrose, yeah.
Yep.
Very,
Montrose Discovery. Yep.
That's right, Montrose Discovery Preschool. It was a very good preschool, by the way. We were very happy with it. And it was a good step to prepare them for going to kindergarten at public school. But yeah, I don't know. So maybe the city of Rockville wants to consider opening up another preschool or a daycare center. Yeah, I think that's all the feedback I have, is just there's obviously a shortage, and everybody gets on waiting list. Anybody who has kids and who wants to go back to work has to find some solution for what are they going to do with their babies or their toddlers for preschool. So it affects every family with kids.
Absolutely.
And I would certainly add to that, and I don't have the numbers, but anecdotally, it certainly seems that there's a lot of younger families with small children or expectant parents that are moving into the neighborhood. I feel like I see a lot more people walking around with strollers than I used to in the past. So, perhaps there's some pent up demand for that and additional childcare needs. Francesca, I saw you had your hand raised. Did you?
Yeah, my name is Francesca Russo, and I'm the director of St. John's Christian Preschool, located right outside of the city on Aspen Hill Road. Unfortunately, my preschool does not have a waiting list. We are a half-day program, and I think the need, from hearing from parents and so forth, the need is in all-day care. Parents are working 8 to 5, and that is the need. The majority of families at my preschool have one parent working from home, so the drop off and pickup is easy. And then I have a lot of families who have grandparents assisting. And when you've got that family support and that flexibility, the half-day programs are valuable for those who are, budget conscious, because the all-day programs are costly. So I think in more all-day options for parents to be considered within the city.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have any other comments that they would like to add about current needs within the community? Okay.
Nothing really hasn't been said, but one thing that's come up for us is we have a school age child and a preschool age child, and we only found one daycare center. One of them is coming downstairs. We only found one daycare center in our neighborhood that could accommodate after school care and before care, plus do full day preschool and daycare for the little one. And that makes our life so much easier because we're able to drop them off together and pick them up together. But without that, you know, it makes it much more logistically difficult. And it'd be nice if there were more options so that you could, I mean, we like our daycare center, but in case we didn't, it would be nice to have more options like that.
I totally
just-
understand
yeah.
and get that. Yeah.
I have one more comment. The parochial schools, the religious schools in our area around our zone, they have seen the need for that balance with families that have preschoolers and school age children. So they've opened up 3s and 4s classes. So there's a lot of competition. I know within the city, there's 4 or 5 parochial Catholic schools that families could get to in relatively 5 to 10 minutes that offer both a 3-year-old preschool and school age children, and with morning and aftercare. So that's a competition that perhaps maybe families are within the city are using instead of our own city-run daycares, preschools.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of daycare providers, and forgive me, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it is a challenge to find the one that is, and I think the big needs surveys say, big things that you want is affordability and proximity, whether it's proximity to your home or proximity to your work, are the big needs that parents have overall in general surveys. And from what I'm hearing you're echoing some of those same things that are a need in your community. But that is definitely thought on the childcare world. What about after school? I know you mentioned both after school and preschool at the same time. Do you think there is a need for more after school programs, or from your observation, is that more or less taken care of? And I have to say that with a normal given year versus COVID right now.
I mean, I feel like we had a lot more options for before and after school care than we did for when our daughters were babies and when they were toddlers. You know, the Twinbrook Community Center has a great program. The public schools obviously have their own programs. I'm assuming private schools also have their own programs. So there were a lot more options for that. And it's also a lot more affordable because you're not paying for the whole day. So at least for us, our pain points were really from 0 to 5.
Yeah. So you brought up 0 to 5. What about infant and toddler care? I mean, I know sometimes, so infant and toddler is 0 to 2, basically. And that's one of those areas that tend to be a challenge. And I don't know if that's also a challenge within the Twinbrook community. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we were on a wait list with our young daughter for, I think, a year. So, and I mean, there are other daycare options, but for the one that we wanted, it takes a long time, and it's probably a lack of competition.
Yeah, I mean, the regulations limit the number of young children, right, that can be in a daycare provider, the number of adults that have to be involved. And, you know, my kids are 13 and 11 now, so we're far past that. But, you know, even back then, right, it's like, you know, the first thing people do before even telling their family they're expecting is they get on a wait list for for daycares. You know, you have to go and interview several in-home daycares, try to find the right match. So it's clearly something that's a stressful time for many families, especially if they're, you know, have the privilege of both working and having careers and stuff. So, you know, having more available care or more information to help people connect with available care for that very young age, I think is something that's always in need.
And communication, I know, is a big challenge with finding the providers. And I don't know if everybody is aware, there is not a clearinghouse, but it's a very good resource. It's the Maryland Family Resource Network, which provides individuals with the ability to search for licensed providers within your community, and the number of distance from your home or whatever address you want to bring it in. So that is a great resource for families. So that is the Maryland Family Resource Network. If anybody's looking that up, or childcare, that's one way that they can look for additional providers. Really, the last question I got for you, and I appreciate your all's time, is as we go down this road of researching more information and trying to get some stuff out to the community and out to Twinbrook community specifically, what suggestions do you have for the best way for us to reach out to the Twinbrook community?
Andy, I would suggest you definitely get some multilingual aspect to this. We have a heavy percentage of non-English speaking families.
I know we have several churches in the community, the elementary schools, their PTAs. I don't know if that's a good way to get information out, but social centers where the different groups of people congregate and meet might be a good solution.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all very much for your time. I am going to put my phone number and my email in the chat. If you all ever have any questions or have any other suggestions related to childcare, please feel free to contact me. Thank you again.
Thank you, Andy. All right. So moving right along, we are ahead of schedule. The next thing on our agenda is Andrew Luetkemeier, sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, who is Principal Transportation Engineer at the City of Rockville, has graciously agreed to present to us tonight on a project I know that many in the community have been anticipating and looking forward to, and those are improvements to Baltimore Road. So Andy's going to give a brief presentation to go over the project, and then we'll be available for some questions and answers. Andy, do you need us to give you control so you can share your screen?
Yeah, that would be great, Mike. Thanks for the introduction.
Okay. All right. Looks like you're the host now, so you can share your screen.
Okay, bear with me for a moment, please. Okay, can you all see the slides on the screen? Okay.
Yes.
See a thumbs up from Lou. Thank you. All right. So as Mike said, my name is Andrew Luetkemeier. I am a Principal Transportation Engineer in the city's Traffic and Transportation Division of Public Works. Just a little bit about me. I have been with the city for just over 12 years now, and I am managing several of the city's capital improvements projects, and primarily, in my time at the city, I've done a lot of sidewalks, some traffic signal projects, roadway projects. So that's kind of the type of work that I do. I also work on streetlights at the city, and I manage our reactive repairs as well as proactive projects for streetlights, and I'm also involved in development review in the city as well. So kind of have a broad knowledge of what we do. But tonight I'm here to talk about one of our major projects that I know has been on people's minds in Twinbrook especially, and that's the Rockville Intermodal Access Project along Baltimore Road. And it's good timing that Mike invited me because the project is moving forward and construction is forthcoming. So I put together a quick agenda for tonight and would like to provide an overview for the project along with an update for where we are. So tonight I want to cover the project's objectives, a little brief background for you, and obviously the current status. and just kind of go over the scope of work for those who aren't necessarily familiar with the project, and highlight some of the notable improvements, and also cover the projected construction impacts that you'll see during the course of the work. And then, of course, respond to any questions that you all might have. So first of all, some of you who have been in the community for a long time might know that the city has been studying this corridor for a long time. I believe in the early 2000s, which predates me, studies were done, and the city had recognized that this was a crucial corridor, east-west corridor in the city, that extends all the way into town center from the outskirts of the city. So at that time, we were trying to develop alternatives to improve the connectivity of this corridor from the city limit to Rockville Town Center, and then also make the corridor more convenient, accessible, and safe for multimodal users. So what do I mean when I say multimodal? I'm talking about pedestrians, I'm talking about bicyclists, obviously passenger vehicles, and those who are trying to use public transportation to get into Rockville Town Center and with access to Rockville Metro. So just a brief background for you. When the city was doing these studies in the early 2000s, the corridor improvements indicated a high project cost. And so the city was exploring ways to cover that cost primarily through grants. And the city was eventually awarded a federal earmark for $4 million through the Federal Highway Administration. Now, as part of getting federal funding, the city has oversight from Maryland State Highway Administration. They're the ones who actually administer the funds for the feds and provide project oversight to the city. Now, we've been working on this project and design since 2009, I believe, and we've had a lot of delays because of the lengthy property acquisition that we had to go through. We had to get easements or right away from 32 properties in order to make the project work. And we also suffered delays through obtaining all the relevant approvals that go along with that, the federal funds. So going over the current status, where we are today, the mayor and council awarded the construction of the project to a firm called Locust Lane Farms. They're located in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and the contract value is about $5.8 million. Contracts have been signed, and the notice to proceed was issued in early December 2020. We just recently, last week, had a pre-construction and kickoff meeting with the contractor. It's a new contractor for the city. I don't believe they've done any work in Rockville to date, but they have done many successful projects with State Highway Administration. And in the course of checking references, I talked to several project managers who were pleased with the work that they had done. So, we're hopeful that we will get the same in our jurisdiction, obviously. So I know you're all probably wondering about the schedule. We just got the schedule yesterday, and yesterday was a city holiday. So I've only briefly opened it up just so I can give you a little indication on what to expect. But we haven't done a thorough review and approved the project. But it looks like, based on the schedule submittal that we got, that the contractor intends to start work on or around March 8th. And I wish I could provide further information on what specific impacts are going to happen when, but unfortunately I can't do that until we do a more thorough review. but I am expecting to keep in touch with Mike and the Twinbrook board to relay information as it becomes available pretty regularly. And I'll go through some more of our ways that we're going to communicate with the community in a few moments. So that's where we are right now. I'd like to shift gears and talk about, what the project is. You can look at it in two different parts. One, in different geographic areas. The first part we're characterizing as town center to Baltimore Road, Norbeck Road intersection. And in this area, we look to really find some pedestrian spot improvements that we could implement to make the pedestrian feel better along that road. Two that we are implementing in this project are doing some intersection improvements at Baltimore Road and Grandin Avenue and Baltimore Road and South Corners Lane. And we're looking to create some curb bump outs and new crosswalks, new signage at those two intersections. And for those that don't know, curb bump outs entail replacing the curb and actually moving the curb line into the roadway, so that the travel lanes are narrowed. And what that does is a couple of beneficial things. The first is that when the travel roadway is narrowed, it tends to provide a traffic calming element, so speeds go down. The narrowed roadway creates a shorter crossing for pedestrians, so they're not in the road as long, and also puts the curb ramps closer to the line of sight for vehicles, and so there's a better visual for pedestrians to see cars as well as cars to see pedestrians who are waiting to cross. Also, I just want to make you guys aware that because of the longevity of this project, there were several projects that started in the umbrella of this project, but kind of spun off on their own. And just want to highlight a couple of those. One is the South Stone Street Road Diet, which some of you may recall the city did maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I believe, that involves building a sidewalk on the metro side of South Stone Street, as well as putting a bike lane in on South Stone Street. And we were able to do that by moving the curb line and taking away one of the vehicular lanes on South Stone Street. We also partnered with State Highway Administration to implement the intersection improvements that we had wanted to do at Baltimore Road and Norbeck Road as part of the Baltimore Road Project. And that came about because they had a paving project on Norbeck Road. And so they were able to implement our improvements as part of their work. And then we also have another city project that's currently in planning and design for the North Stone Street corridor. And that involves some other improvements along Park Road and the two intersections of Park Road and North Stone Street and South Stone Street. So shifting gears to the other part of the project, which takes place between Baltimore Road and Norbeck Road intersection to the city limits just past Rockville High School. This is more of our complete roadway and roadside improvements project. It involves repaving the road, improved drainage. We have some shared use path and some sidewalk links that we're putting in there. It's got a stream restoration component down by Rockville Cemetery, and also, landscaping when all is said and done. So just to highlight some of the notable improvements, I said before, roadway resurfacing. I know this has been a hot topic with a lot of folks because the project has persisted so long. We've missed almost a complete cycle of paving, and so. The last couple of years, the city has put some Band-Aids on the road, but this is going to be a welcome thing, I think, for the community to resurface the road. we're putting in an 8-foot wide shared use path that will complete the current gap between the Rock Creek Trail and the Millennium Trail. Right now, there's parts of shared use path, but we're going to finish that. There's also several sidewalk gaps in this area that we will fill. And for areas that do have sidewalks where they're 4 feet, we're going to replace them with 5-foot wide sidewalks. There's pedestrian safety spot improvements. I highlighted a few in the previous slide, but that's another bonus for the project. The project is going to improve the drainage along the project limits. There's going to be a lot of new storm drain put in where there's currently, some gaps in the storm drain system, some upgrades, and there's a culvert replacement at the stream crossing to upsize the capacity for that stream. And then, there's a stormwater management element whenever we're doing roadway projects and adding new impervious area, we have a stormwater management component as well. So what can we expect during construction? The biggest thing that I am trying to coordinate is a full road closure at the stream crossing near Rockville Cemetery. And there's going to be a signed detour for vehicles and pedestrians during that work. The road closure is going to be necessary in order to put in that upsized culvert that we have and build some storm drain that goes up the hills in each direction. If you can picture that area where the pedestrian bridge is between Calvin Park and Rockville Cemetery. Also, there's going to be periodic lane closures and limitations to on-street parking periodically during the project. This is fairly standard for most roadway projects. Also expect construction vehicles, noise and dust. And for those who live on Baltimore Road, expect some temporary driveway closures during certain parts of the work. So again, I said that I would like to have conveyed some more of the specific impacts to you, but this is just a general list at this point. And I'm going to encourage folks to look for project updates on our website, future correspondence with the neighborhood associations, Twinbrook being one of them, obviously, as a big player for this project. We're going to send out mailings to the affected residences and properties along Baltimore Road. And obviously, if you're a driver on Baltimore Road, just be aware of the signage and traffic control that's going on. I'm also going to try and work with our public information office to see if they have other ways that we can get word out to folks at certain phases of the project. This project is expected to last about a year, possibly more. So it's going to be an inconvenience, but hopefully, the benefits will outweigh the temporary inconveniences. So I think that's all that I wanted to cover in my remarks. I thank you for your time and your attention, and happy to take any questions that you all might have.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And I can reiterate it is definitely an item that has come up time and again at our meetings. People have asked about the status of the project. Like as you mentioned, Baltimore Road has really suffered the last few years, the condition. So we appreciate the Band-Aids, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to the full completion of the improvements. But anybody have any questions? Lou?
If Baltimore Road is closed near the cemetery, how are you going to divert traffic through our neighborhood?
So it's going to be routed along Gladstone. Let me make sure I have this right. I thought you might ask this. Sorry, it's going to be routed along Edmonston and Broadwood to Beers Mill Road. That's for vehicular traffic. And then the pedestrians, there's a shorter detour that goes through the neighborhood to cut some of that off.
How are you getting from Broadwood to Edmonston?
Via Beers Mill Road.
Thank you.
Chuck, I get your hand raised. You're on mute, Chuck.
Yeah, thank
There
you. Yeah, I wanted to know if there's any possibility of us salvaging some of the native plants that are going to be disrupted or destroyed in this project's development. We could use them throughout some of the city parks, and also maybe in the Twinbrook, some people who want them in Twinbrook community to salvage them and no cost to the city. And yeah, it would be possible to get advance warning of where the areas were going to be greatly disturbed, and we could go in and check for things that we might be able to salvage.
Chuck, it's an interesting question. I think that we can certainly be amenable to doing that. Do you have an area that you're thinking about? Is it in some of the forested areas, either by the cemetery or Calvin Park?
Yeah, Calvin Park, particularly in the cemetery area. Around there, there's a few really prized native plants that might be too big to move. I don't know, but and there's also some smaller stuff that we could get out if we had advance warning.
Okay. I would like to talk to some of my colleagues in Recreation and Parks, and maybe the park manager for Calvin Park to get her opinion on it. I think it's Diane Pasolina. I don't know if you're familiar with Diane or not, but I'd like to get Diane's opinion and maybe some other folks in parks on how we can do that, effectively. And early spring might be a good time to do that, I would think. So it sounds like we have an opportunity to do that.
We could actually start at any time. I mean, it's yeah, early spring would be okay, but weather's pretty good now.
Okay. Let me make note of this, Chuck, and then we can see what we can do.
Thank you.
All right.
And if I might
Yeah, AM, go ahead.
piggyback on that, it would be ideal if we could talk to Diane about making that a general city policy, so that when there is a large area of construction pending that would impact on some kind of native flora that we could remove, it would be very useful. So it might be worth, what I would like to do is talk to her in a broader sense rather than just this single location.
Okay.
And I know there would be a number of us who would be very happy to talk to her about that. And we know.
Okay. And I know that she would probably be happy if there were, a group of volunteers who might be able to provide some of the legwork to accomplish this work.
Yeah, we got a small army.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's start that dialogue with my colleagues in parks. I think that would be good.
Andrew, is the intersection of Baltimore Road and Rock Creek Trail outside the scope of this project?
You're talking about the crossing down there for the Rock Creek?
Yes.
Yes, that is outside of the project and outside of the city limits.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had a unrelated question, but because you you mentioned that you cover the streetlights as well.
Yes.
So I had read at some point that I guess the older streetlights were getting upgraded as part of an energy reducing effort. Do you know, like, when in the Twinbrook area we can expect that?
So a couple things, and Twinbrook is predominantly a Pepco maintained area because of the overhead power. You can differentiate responsibility in the city for streetlights based on whether or not they're fed by underground power or overhead power, if that makes sense. All streetlights on wooden utility poles, with very few exceptions, are owned and maintained by Pepco, and the city has a monthly fee that we pay for that. So this is the Pepco area. We have been notified that Pepco is they've currently submitted a proposal to the Public Service Commission of Maryland, who governs their operations, that they would like to start converting their streetlights into LED, which is something that we've been pushing for many, many years. Pepco has been very resistant to converting to LED or even offering viable LED solutions for jurisdictions to use. So it's good news that they're making an effort and developing a program to possibly convert to LED. Now, I can't give you the exact timeline, but if this gets approved through the Public Service Commission, I've heard that they might start converting their lights to LED by the end of the year, and convert their entire service area in the next 2 to 3 years after that starts. Now, in the meantime, we've been lobbying Pepco to do something about an older generation of lights that unfortunately we still have in the city, called mercury vapor lights, that are whitish in color, and over time they dim to the point of not being very useful. And we've been pushing them to convert those at least to high pressure sodium lights, which are the step between mercury vapor and LED. And so they've agreed to convert some of those lights in the meantime, fully assuming that they're moving to LED in the next couple of years with some high pressure sodium lights. I don't know if that answers your question, Avram, if there's anything more that you have.
Well, so that interim step, when would we maybe expect that?
So that they're not going to do all of their lights. They've agreed to do, can't remember the exact figure, 300 or so. And they were trying to get that done this winter. So I haven't gotten an update on that project from their government affairs liaison, who we've been working with on that, but that's definitely something that I can provide the Twinbrook board with more information if that would be beneficial to you all.
If you could provide us an update, that would be great. We had initially learned about this through Ahmad. Gosh, I don't know if we presented it at the last meeting or it came up since then, but I know that we had an active Nextdoor thread going about it. And we were posting information that he was providing, including a map of the streetlights that Pepco had supposedly agreed to update. And so Ahmad had made a comment that the city was requesting updates from Pepco every couple of weeks or every month. So any new information that you have to be shared, because if people are not seeing these updates, then I guess that's a concern. So because the last update we also heard from Ahmad was that the conversion to LED was something that was kind of iffy, because Pepco was demanding a grant, and they weren't going to do it unless they got this grant. And the outcome of that was unclear.
Well, it's dependent upon their approval by the Public Service Commission. And so maybe that's what he meant to say. It's not a done deal until they say that Pepco can implement this plan, and that it's also tied to a rate increase that they proposed rate change that they have. So unfortunately, it's not just streetlights, but we'll see what comes out of that. I'm sure it will be noteworthy when some news does break on that. And quite frankly, it'll be a benefit to the city to convert to LED, but hopefully the cost is okay for the jurisdictions who will have to pay for it.
Yeah, great.
I can definitely get an update for you guys and provide that to you, Mike, so you can disseminate it however you want to.
That'd be great. Thank you.
But meanwhile, I mean, I guess if there's outages, the Pepco website is pretty good about receiving reports of outages, and it's been my experience that they get on them pretty quickly. I've put in some, and the next day it's been as quick as that, and other times it's taken a few days. But and you can select on their website. They have a map. You can see exactly where they are with the numbers on them, and you can tell them the reasons, and some of the reasons are dim, or that they cycle on and off, because that's a pretty common thing that I see here. So
yeah, that's good.
LEDs.
That's good information to have, and I appreciate you saying that, because that is the best way for these areas to get serviced rather than going to the city, which is perfectly fine if you'd like to, but it just adds another step when you could just go directly to Pepco and then get their automated updates from their system when they make repairs. So if that's something that would be helpful too, Mike, I can give you that link to share with folks how to report an outage to Pepco.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay.
Hi, this is Ruth Calistrat. I had a question about the Baltimore Road.
Sure.
When you're in the trail and it goes through the parking lot of the Aspen Hill Cooperative Nursery School,
yes. You're talking about the old Twinbrook Baptist Church site?
What's on Baltimore Road, and it takes you inside the parking lot of the Aspen Hill Cooperative Nursery School. And if you're on a bicycle, you have to get off the bike because there's like a curb in the way, and then the trail continues. Is that something that is part of the scope of this project? Well,
absolutely, yes, yes. Okay. That'll be fixed. Shortly east of there is where the trail is going to be repaved, and then there's going to be a curb and gutter installed along that stretch, and a retaining wall, because there's a grade difference there. So the path is going to be closer to the road elevation, I guess, and then a retaining wall and a fence that will divide the parking lot from the shared use path. So yeah, that's definitely a stretch where you won't have to go through the parking lot anymore. You won't have to hop that curb. It'll be part of that continuous 8-foot wide shared use path up to the intersection. So that's another thing that we hear a lot that's an inconvenience, and we know about it. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Andrew?
Just curious, where will that 8-foot wide path begin and end? Is that going to change?
So, like I said, there's certain parts that are already built. If you are traveling, or if you're between Twinbrook Parkway and Gladstone, I guess, that stretch is already built. There's a choke point at the pedestrian bridge, if you can picture that, because the width of the pedestrian bridge is, I think, 5 or 6 feet maybe. So what we're doing is going to extend the culverts there, take that bridge out, and then there will be an at-grade crossing. So it'll essentially be passed through that without a separate bridge. So we're reconstructing that portion where the bridge is now, and then just a few. I think there's 200 feet going up the hill to the east of there. But the majority of that path that's already there is going to stay. It's just where you get from Gladstone up to Edmonston. It'll be on the south side of the road. And then unfortunately, we're going to have to cross at Edmonston where the intersection is with the Civic Center. And then the 8-foot path will continue on the north side of Baltimore Road up until Norbeck. So then you cross Norbeck on the First Street and then hop on the Millennium Trail from there. And that's the extent of the limits in a nutshell for the path.
Oh, that's great. Extending it all the way to First Street. Wonderful.
Well, I can leave my email in the chat too, if that's helpful for folks. And if you think of anything else, feel free to reach out. And then I'll follow up on some of these items and get back in touch with you, Mike, if that's okay.
That'd be great. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank
Very
you.
useful.
Okay, you guys all take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So last but not least, the agenda item I know we've all been waiting for, the awarding of our very first Twinbrooker of the Year, Twinbrooker of the Year 2020. Just, first a little background, something that the executive committee, we were talking last summer about some of our initiatives for the year. One thing we really kind of hit upon is that we wanted to, recognize members of our community who go out of their way to make our neighborhood a better place. We have so many amazing neighbors who put in the effort on a monthly, weekly, even daily basis to improve Twinbrook. Many of the names I know that come to my mind are on the call tonight. But whether it's cleaning up our parks and streams or your street or keeping an eye on your street and reporting issues, there's just so many ways that so many of you contribute, day in and day out. And often without drawing any attention to yourselves, but we think you do deserve recognition. And so one way that we want to recognize those who contribute so much is through our newly created Twinbrooker of the Year award. Last summer, we asked for nominations for the first Twinbrooker of the Year, and this year's winner, Ann Goodman, was nominated by Sarah Salazar, who called her a pillar of our community. And we couldn't agree more. As a testament to how much she has done for Twinbrook, it took several people to list all of her accomplishments. And I'd like to take a moment to read a few words written by those who have worked closest with and know Ann the best. So John Tyner wrote in that I would consider this an honor for Ann, not only working with her on the Planning Commission since she joined us in 2013, but also her work getting Rockville anointed as a wildlife habitat city, her stream cleanup efforts, and her starting the Twinbrook Village organization, plus being a good friend. We both have a collection of old fire hose nozzles. So I don't know what's behind that story. You're on mute, Ann, so if you want to chime in and tell us about the fire hose nozzles, go right ahead. We also had a contribution from Chuck Woolery. Chuck, I know you're on the call. I don't know if you want to read it or if you would like me to read it. You like me to read it? All right. So Chuck wrote in, Ann has been my mentor, inspiration, and native plant teacher since we first met about 10 years ago when she was recruiting Rockville residents with yards and gardens to become part of the native plant and wildlife certification process. During that time, I've come to learn and admire all of the related city projects and activities she has been deeply involved with. One of the most inspiring is her native plant garden at Croydon Creek Nature Center, where she has a 100 square foot patch of ground fully protected from deer. I'd like your tips on that after the call. It is an oasis of plants swarmed by butterflies, bees, beetles, and other wildlife that should be there, but are increasingly endangered by human developments that too often fail to recognize their impact on Mother Nature. This small patch of ground on Rockville Parkland is dwarfed by Ann's home garden, which only has lawn grass on the city right away between the street and the sidewalk. She has always offered others native plants from her yard, seeds collected from them, and even allowed the digging up of dozens for regenerating an area of Twinbrook Park that she helped clear several species of non-native invasive plants last fall. There are other projects she has inspired, created, or participated in, too many to list. Her wide breadth of knowledge of native plants and generosity in sharing both her knowledge and her plants makes her one of Rockville's best friends to Mother Nature, and her efforts will be visible for decades. She and her late husband, Jim, brought together people, native plants, and all the other life forms they could attract for a divine blending of physical activity and nurturing nature. A rare combination that is hard to find in today's world, and she has continued this in a safe way, even during the COVID-19 year of social distancing. I never saw most of her work with trying to influence the city's council or committee's operations, but in our Rockville Native Species Network meetings that she created and usually led, she always had the most and the best inside information and focused actions the rest of us could take to be of greater influence on matters of bringing nature back into our city life. Anne deserves more than an award for all she has done directly for nature and for getting so many others more informed and active in protecting nature in our Rockville and Twinbrook community. I hope we can get a city resolution passed recognizing her for putting Rockville on track for meeting and then exceeding our share of the nation's plan and protecting at least 30% of our lands and waters from development by the year 2030. So thanks, Chuck, for writing all of that. I think that's a great testament to everything Anne has done. And then lastly, we also got a submission from Carol Hannaford, who I know is not on the call tonight, but she asked me to read this. And she says, I knew about Anne a few years before I met her. She lives about a mile from me, and it was a nice distance for a daily walk. I was enchanted by her lovely garden, knowing nothing about native plants at that time. And for any of you who know Carol's yard, Anne must have had a big impact on her. Because her yard is quite the contribution now. And I was intrigued by that the owner of the house had devised a way for kitties to get outdoors and enjoy fresh air without either getting mashed in the street or eating every bird in sight. Again, I'm a cat owner. I'd like your tips on that after this call. Anne and Jim co-founded the Rockville Native Species Network, and when they invited me to join the group, I accepted. They were a great team, passionate about the environment and determined to move forward with concrete and attainable environmental goals at all levels, but starting with Rockville. Anne does not believe in writing a report and letting it sit on a shelf. She attaches an action plan to every proposal she makes. After Jim died and Anne persevered through some health issues of her own, she started the Twinbrook Village. She would be the first to say that the city's involvement, particularly Trish Evans, has been tremendously helpful in getting the group off the ground and helping it grow. A significant contribution was Anne's insistence that the group welcome people of all ages, not just seniors, as similar groups sometimes do. There has been an emphasis on including young people in the village's activities. It has been my pleasure to be involved with Anne on a number of levels, including plundering her garden from my own yard. But if I had to focus on one aspect of her, I think it would be on her strength and resilience. She has been knocked down time and again, and each time she gets up and keeps on fighting. So, like the neighbors who took the time to write in support of Anne's nomination, TCA is in awe of Anne and her tireless efforts to make our neighborhood a better place to live. In recognition for everything she's done and continues to do for Twinbrook, we named Anne Goodman the first Twinbrooker of the year. So in addition to this certificate, lovingly designed by Hallie Henry, we had a couple of other items to celebrate Anne. I understand Vincent and his family decorated the sidewalk in front of her house so that everybody who walks by will know that she's Twinbrooker of the Year. And as he mentioned earlier, TCA has made a donation of $100 to Twinbrook Villages in honor of Anne's being named Twinbrooker of the Year. And lastly, we just want to thank you, Anne, for being such a wonderful neighbor.
Thank you, Anne.
Can I say a few things?
Please.
Absolutely.
Wow. That was quite moving. to be perfectly honest, and I'm probably going to tear up a little bit, so forgive me. I just wanted to thank TCA for this honor. I consider it a very special thing to be recognized by your local community. It's just different from receiving an award, you know, by a larger group or anything. It's probably the greatest compliment I could receive, and I'm really impressed by all the kind words. But it's lovely to learn that my community thinks I'm making a positive contribution, and that positive feedback is an incentive for me to do more. Aside from the personal honor, I think this is a good idea in general. I mentioned it to Deborah Landau, who is the president of the East Rockville Civic Association, and she wants to steal the idea. I think it would be lovely if this were adopted by other community organizations, because I think it's really important to recognize people within the community. And as Mike said, there's so many people who would be so deserving of this. And I'm really looking forward to seeing whom you nominate in the future. I thoroughly enjoyed the sidewalk art. I thank Annalise, Anthony, and Christina Russo for their efforts. I had to, it's the entire width of my property. So I had to take a video of it to get it all in one shot. And if anybody would like to see that video, it's really quite a wonderful work of art. Please get in touch with me and I'll send it to you, because I really appreciated that. I forwarded it to some of my family around the country, and the general consensus was that it was awesome. So thank you, Russos, and thank you, TCA.
You're most welcome.
I have not said thank you for the donation. We appreciate that very much. Twinbrook Village does. I think Holly did a lovely job of the certificate, and I'm hope to get my hands on that someday. And
we will make sure you get it.
Chuck, that garden is 400 square feet. Weeded by me. And just for the record, Chuck and I met at a TCA meeting, as did John Tyner and I. And I thank those of you who did for mentioning my husband, Jim. He was my partner in crime, and we had a great time volunteering together. That was a great thing about our time together. I thank you so much for this. Like I say, it's very special to be recognized by your friends and neighbors. So thank you. Now, can I go to a different topic?
Well, we have learned tonight you are a woman of action, so
well,
go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the a potential mask giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
Jointly sponsored, hopefully, by TCA, if you feel so inclined, Twinbrook Village, and I have approached the Twinbrook Pool to see if they want to participate, because they are interested, I know, in doing outreach for their membership. What we did about a week and a half ago or so, it did a dry run with the excellent support of the rec center staff. I see Kelly is on the call tonight, I think, and I just can't say enough good about her. And I am not happy that she's leaving Twinbrook, but I have to admit a certain happiness that she's going to the senior center, because I'll still have her. But she and Kali were wonderful. They set the logistics up for us, And we will be receiving, Twinbrook Village will be receiving 3,000 masks. They are washable white masks. They are packaged 5 to a package. And what we did was, well, we didn't do this. Students who got SL hours did it. We attached a brochure to the package of masks with a rubber band, put them on a tray, and emptied the tray through the open passenger window of cars as they drove by the rec center. So there was no contact. I mean, there was no hand contact. People were asked to wear masks. So anyway, if you would be interested, I don't have a delivery date for the masks yet, so I can't suggest a specific time. But I think they should be here maybe in a couple of weeks, and once they get here, then we could do some additional planning. It's not hard. It's a good thing for the community. I think the most encouraging thing I saw the afternoon we were giving the masks away a couple of weeks ago was 2 young fellas, probably preteens, were riding their bikes around the rec center, and they didn't have on masks, and we gave them a package, and they put on their masks, and I was so proud of them. So, you know, we did at least one good thing that day. So if you would be interested in participating in something like that, I think it would be, I like to see things where community groups work together. So I think the sponsorship by more than one community group would be a nice thing. Builds a sense of community, which I think we all want to do.
Yep. So, yeah, thank you for that. I did pass along the information to the rest of the executive board. We haven't discussed it, but I don't think you're going to find anybody who's not willing to support this effort. So we are more than happy.
The price is right. The
price
is
right. We will, we're happy to publicize it in our own channels, and then I'm sure some of us will be willing to volunteer on the day to help pass out. If there's any contact information, I guess, you know, anybody who's on the call who I guess wants to volunteer, they should contact you, Anne. Or is that what you would prefer?
Now, do you have any literature that you would want to put in the rubber band, do you think?
So what I was just thinking, Mike, we'll have, you know, if the masks come in like a couple weeks, we're going to have real good, solid information, in theory, by that point, of every place that community members who are eligible can get vaccinated. And I might have access to that sort of public health materials, as well as the ongoing COVID testing materials outside of any like TCA related ones. But I like opportunities to connect people, and the masks is a good way to connect not only to testing but to vaccinations.
Yep.
Unmute. Oh. Am I muted or not?
Now you're unmuted.
Okay. I forgot that part of the, did I say that we had students got SSL hours for doing that? So that, I mean, that's not a, I'm hoping we can do that again. So
yeah, that would be great. That I know my son is struggling to get his SSL hours right now.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
So thank you, everybody, again. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for the recognition, and keep up your good work.
Thank you, Anne. And I will be in contact about dropping off the certificate for you here in the coming few days or week or so. So great. All right. Well, that is all we had on the agenda. I know we still have some time left. If there's anything anyone wanted to discuss, issues to raise, questions to ask, kind of open the floor.
Well, let's give a little, Anne mentioned that Kelly Day, Terry, is leaving and leaving the Twinbrook Rec Center. And I know my family has benefited tremendously from her stewardship and leadership, and the whole community has. And Kelly, we this kind of snuck up on us here, so but you're here, and I hope you're listening, because we are going to miss you, and we're delighted that you're still going to be here in Rockville at the senior center, but there'll be a void here in Twinbrook for sure. And we wish you all the best, and you've got a great team there at the rec center, so we know it's in good hands, but we're certainly miss you.
Thank you for the kind words. I'm gonna miss all of you guys. I'm still just an email away, so you can still get in touch with me, and I still look forward to seeing everybody's kids grow up. Hopefully they'll come work for Kali at Twinbrook, and I can snag them for some stuff at the senior center.
I was going to pile on to that. Kelly has been such an integral part. Actually, Kelly and Anne have been such an integral part of my son Javi's Twinbrook experience. He still talks about the garden that he did with you, Anne, at the rec center. And Kelly, you've literally, you and your mom have literally seen Javi grow up, and you guys played such a really special part. I know you're not going anywhere, but not being at TCRC and not seeing it's just going to be very different. The senior center better know what they're getting is all I'm going to say.
Oh, thank you.
We'll miss you.
And please tell Javi hello from me.
I will. He's an adult now.
I know.
Yeah, I just also want to take a minute to thank Kelly. When I saw the email from Ann announcing that, I think I just slammed the computer shut. I was so shocked to read that Kelly was leaving. I mean, it's just, sometimes people are just so good, you end up taking them for granted and think they're going to be there forever. And, there's that whole saying about it takes a village to raise a child. And, there's no better example of that. And Kelly's influence on so many children's lives here in Twinbrook. My own family included. And also, Kelly, just thank you so much for all your support of TCA over the years, helping us organize our meetings in the room. Again, you've done just so much, had such a great and positive impact on the neighborhood and the community. And we're so sad to see you go, but we're glad that you're still in Rockville. And again, just like Vincent said, we know you have wonderful staff, and hopefully Kali continues there, because he's has been equally as awesome with the kids, and just working with us and anyone in the community who uses the rec center.
Thank you so much. I am going to miss all of you guys, but now I can join TCA as a Twinbrookie, because I live in
There
Twinbrook.
you go.
Yeah,
that's great.
Don't work at Twinbrook anymore. So I can be part of
There's an
TCA.
upside.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what you've just volunteered yourself for?
That's right.
I have a quick question.
We know what you're capable of. So
And
now you're in
Kali's
trouble.
on here too. And
Yeah, I see,
congratulations, much deserved award. You do so much for the community.
Yes, we came on to say thank you to Ann especially. And we just want to say we're going to miss Kelly desperately at the community center, but we hope you guys will still all be involved and come by and see us when we open back up.
I know when you both booking up, I know my my Rockville City card still doesn't work, so I'm still counting on you to give me a thumbs up and say we got you.
We definitely have you. Everybody's
All
welcome
right.
back, and we owe everybody a little bit, so no worries there.
That's all right.
A question?
Kali,
Liz?
you have to, excuse me.
Go ahead, Ann. No, it's
No,
your
I
turn.
was just going to say, Kali, we expect you to give us the same sort of service that you have in the past. Keep it up.
Well, Kelly taught me very well over the last 12
He's
years.
done that. Yeah.
So I am going to try to take what I've learned and apply it and keep the good work going. And I appreciate all your support, Ann, and everybody else.
Well, you've supported us too. Thank you. And you will continue to do so, I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Lou, before we get to you, I think Abram had raised his hand earlier. Do you want to jump in, Abram?
Yeah, I hate to follow all that because that was all, mostly goodwill and cheerful. I just wanted to bring up, and I put this on Nextdoor, and I think James had probably mentioned at your board meeting, but my house was vandalized recently, last week. My front window was broken. So, I know Brigida's had a similar problem. But and I know there's been other petty crimes. So I'm hoping, I don't know. I don't know what we can do about it, but I'm hoping something. I'm going to look into getting some cameras and get the street light next to my house hopefully fixed.
Yeah.
And maybe we can talk to. I know Officer England isn't on this week, but maybe we can see about getting increased police presence in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I saw the Nextdoor thread. I think we're all sorry that happened to you, just like as we were sorry that it happened to Brigida. Camera's a good idea. We can help support, getting the street, following up and getting that street light replaced. We can reach out to Rockville, police if you would like us to, or if, you want to hold a meeting, or if you just want some contacts in the city, we can, help facilitate that. Yeah, that's just awful.
Hey, Abram, can I ask, and if you want to answer privately, that's fine too. But I'm just curious about whether or not you submitted a police report or called non-emergency.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Immediately. Yeah, and Officer, I think St. Clair came out, and he was very friendly, but there's nothing he can really do. There's no object that was left. There's no footage for that area, and I think even if there was, it was so dark. So I was in I was in my living room when they hit the window, and I look out and I see someone running and get in their car and drive away. So I don't know what the motivation was, but yeah, I've lived in Twinbrook for 16 years, and there's never been anything remotely like that. So
yeah, we can definitely follow up on the lights for certain, that there's a specific procedure with traffic and transportation on street lights and DPW. So we can follow up for sure.
I'd like to say something, if I may.
Sure.
I was vandalized 3 times and windows broken twice. And yes, I have all police reports. Police reports didn't do anything. And in my case, my 2 repairs for the windows cost me $1,000. Well, a little less than $1,000. I have a $1,000 deductible, so it was out of my pocket. I was really sorry to hear that there was another window broken, and I don't know what the solution is, but I've been here for 55 years. Nothing like this has ever happened. It's really sad. Now, I do have a ring bell now that works, but the problem is when they come at night, it's hard to actually get a description when somebody wears a hoodie. You really can't tell, but I think we need to help each other and watch out. That's the only solution, because the police can't be on our street every day. So I'm sorry to hear that happened, but like I said, it's happened to me 3 times, and kind of move on. And it's sad. Hope it doesn't happen to anybody else. Oh, and I have to say, I think Mike, you mentioned something to the city council one evening. Was it, it was,
yeah.
Was it you? Yeah, you mentioned something. And really the sad part is not one of them said anything to me about they're sorry that this happened. So it'd be nice if we were recognized that, people are very sorry that these things happen to us. But thank you for mentioning that too at the community forum. Thank you, Mike.
Sure. We're all neighbors. We all need to look out for each other. Anyone else? Anything else? Lou.
On a personal note, I see the name Ken Sleeman on the chat. If that is the same Ken Sleeman from WGTB in the 70s, please connect.
So for those of us who weren't here in the 70s, can you give us Give us some more background to that.
I'll ask Ken
What
to
do you
jump
think?
in. Ken, come off mute and jump in.
WGTB was a bit like WHFS in the late 60s and 70s with progressive music and alternative news. I'm glad people still remember the station after 50 odd years of its demise. You'll find me, if you ever see me driving my Chevy Volt around Twinbrook, I still have a WGTB bumper sticker on my car.
Nice.
That's you. Okay.
So send me a PM and we'll connect offline.
Yeah,
Will do.
great, thanks. Anyone else? Moira, Sam, you've been quiet tonight. You guys got anything? You're on mute, so take yourselves off mute and speak up if you got anything.
No, I'm
I see
good.
mouse moving. There we go. Moira, you're good? Yep. All right. Sam, are you good? All right. Well, it is 8:43, so if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn a little bit early. Again, congratulations to you, Anne, for being our first Twinbrooker of the year. Well deserved. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Congratulations.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Congrats. everyone.
Congratulations, Ann.
All right.